Morning, students. I welcome you for the biology class. In this particular video, we'll start with a new chapter tissues. First, let us know the basics. What are tissue? It's a group of cells that are specialized to perform a particular function. So, this forms tissues. For example, we do have muscle tissue. So, all muscle cells will be grouped to form a muscle tissue. They contract and relax and helps for the movement. Whereas nerve cells group to form a nerve tissue. What's the function of this nervous tissue? It carry the messages. So, group of cells will unite a cluster of cells is known as tissue, and they do perform a particular function. So, the structure will be same and their function will be same. So, it will be in groups. It is called tissue. The study of tissue is known as histology. Now, in this particular chapter, you have to study about the plant tissue and animal tissue. So, there are two types, that is plant and animal tissue. First, let us discuss about plant tissue. Coming to plant tissue, the plants do not move. You know that they are stationary. And most of the tissues they have are supportive in nature, means they provide mechanical support, the strength. And most of the tissues are dead. In plants, the most of the tissues are dead because they provide mechanical strength rather compared to the lived ones. Okay, and requires less maintenance because why it is having maximum dead cells, it's because of less maintenance. And some of the plant tissues, it keeps on dividing throughout its life. So these tissues are localized in certain regions. And coming to animal tissue, animals they move. No, they are mobile in nature. They move around in the search of food, mates, and shelter. They consume more energy. They contain more living cells, and the cell growth is more uniform. No, they don't have a sort of cells which grows throughout their life in a particular region. So that sort of differentiation has not been seen. Okay. So we do have repairment, but one particular meristematic tissue which is there in the plant, it keeps on dividing throughout its life. Whereas in animal, we don't have that particular cells. Okay, we do have repairment. So some cells will die, some cells will grow. So, but their uniformity is there. Then, coming to types of plant tissue. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissue, various plant tissues can be classified as growing. Other name of growing tissue is meristematic tissue, and the second one is permanent tissue. So, which is further subdivided. So, there's further subdivision. So, plant tissue, it is meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Further division is also there based on this. You can have a look of this flow chart. So, plant tissue, it is divided into meristematic and then it is permanent. Then in meristematic, based on the location, we do have apical, lateral, intercalary. Whereas in permanent, we do have simple and complex. Coming to simple, again subdivision, we have four types. One is parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and protective tissue. Whereas in complex, we do have phloem and xylem. So today, let us study till sclerenchyma. So we'll study about meristematic tissue, three types based on their location, and simple. In simple, we'll study about parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Now, there's an activity in your text. So that activity is just to identify the meristematic tissue. Okay. Now, take two onions in a jar as shown. So you have to take two jars, and in the jar it is filled with water, and you have to place an onion. So observe the growth of the root for 5 days. So you have to leave it for 5 days, and you can see there'll be a growth of the root, right? So after 5 days, so you can just record the length of the root also. Next, after fifth day, so cut the tip of the root of onion in jar 2. You have to take out this onion and cut the root. Now around 1 centimeter, you can just cut and then place it back to the jar and then observe for another 5 days. Okay, then couple of days or 5 days, you can just go through that. Roots in the jar too stops growing. So after 5 days, like after a couple of days or 5 days, according to your thing, when you just see the roots will stop growing. What can be the reason? The answer is here. So when the tip of the root are cut, the apical meristem present is lost. Okay, so dividing cell. So evergreen dividing throughout its life. I said it is dividing, right? So those cells are lost. So there is no further growth. Next, we'll study about meristematic tissue now. So what are meristematic tissue? So these tissues are growth tissue, which is responsible for the growth in plants. Cells in these tissues can divide and form new cells. There are three types of meristematic tissue based on their location. First is apical meristem. It is present at the growing tip of stem and roots. Okay, what's the function? It is to increase in length. Coming to lateral meristem. So you can say it is also known as cambium. So cambium region. It is present beneath the bark. It is responsible for the growth of trunk. Intercalary. Intercalary meristems is present at internodes. So we do have nodes, internodes in the stem. So it is present at the internodes or base of the leaf. And what is the function? It is used to, like it's mainly for to increase the length between the nodes. So between the two nodes, you can see the length will increase. Now, here is a diagram where you can see the position. Like this is the apical meristem at the tip, and this is lateral. Okay, and this is intercalary. It is in between the nodes, you can see. And this diagram is important. It is there in your text. Please follow that. You have to learn their positions, different location of meristematic tissue in the plant body. Coming to the properties of the cells of meristem. The cells of meristematic tissues, they are very active and work very faster. They do not have vacuoles. They have dense cytoplasm. They have thin cellulose cell wall, and they have prominent nuclei. Next, permanent tissue. Cells of permanent tissue, cells of meristematic tissue change their shape. So once this meristematic tissue grows, so later a particular thing they change their shape and size and they get more specialized to perform other function. This process where there's a change in shape and size and they are getting transformed to do some particular function is known as that process is known as differentiation. Once the cells of meristematic tissues divide to a certain extent, they become specialized to perform a particular function. Permanent tissues are of two types: simple, complex. What do I mean by simple tissue? This type of tissue is composed of same type of cells, whereas complex, it's a group of different types of cells performing some common task together. So, like functions will be similar, but it's a group of different types of cells. Coming to four types of simple tissue, as you have seen in the flow chart. The first one is parenchyma. The cells of parenchyma tissues are live, they are oval, elongated, loosely packed with a large intercellular space. They form a basic packing tissue. So, this is a basic packing tissue, and they are found throughout the body of the plant. And the cells of parenchyma has very small nucleus, a large vacuole, and a thin cell wall. These tissues are found throughout the plant. Function of parenchyma: they provide mechanical support, they store food. As I said, they have large vacuole, they store food and nutrients. Sometimes parenchyma will have chlorophyll. No? Whenever they have chlorophyll, their main function we know. So, what's the function of chlorophyll? To perform photosynthesis. So, they are known as Chlorenchyma. So, then in aquatic plants, these cells of parenchyma will have a large air cavities. So when the air cavities, and this air cavities will give buoyancy. So the ability of the plant to float. Then this parenchyma is known as aerenchyma. So you may get one more question. So what is Sclerenchyma? What is aerenchyma? Then second type of simple tissue is Collenchyma. The cells of Collenchyma are alive. So they are alive, they are oval, elongated, thickly or tightly packed with little intercellular space. So you can see very little intercellular space in that. And they are found below the epidermis of leaves and stem. The cells of Collenchyma, they have very small nucleus and a large vacuole and thin cell wall, but at the corners, the cell wall will be thicker. So Collenchyma tissues, they are found below the epidermis of leaves and stem. So it's a location again. Coming to functions, they provide mechanical support and the flexibility of the plants is due to Collenchyma. Okay, they can bend without breaking. It's because of this Collenchyma. Then Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma simple tissue, it's a dead tissue, right? It's a dead cells. So these are very narrow, elongated. The cell wall is not of cellulose here, but it is of lignin and it is very hard. So they are found around vascular bundles like xylem and phloem. So we have heard about vascular bundles in 8th standard. So around that we can see sclerenchyma and also veins of leaves. So in hard covering of seeds, nuts. So these are the locations wherever you can see the sclerenchyma. Example, sclerenchyma tissues are found in coconut husk. So which tissue is found in coconut husk? It is sclerenchyma. Coming to the functions, as we said, it is a dead. You can just predict the answers. So it provides mechanical strength and makes the plant body very hard and stiff. So thank you. We'll study about the fourth one, protective tissue, as well as the complex tissue in the online classes. Thank you. Have a nice day.